All right, we're gonna get started with our lunch and learn today. Welcome to NVCOG, and this is GIS Solutions. If you're not here for GIS, you're in the wrong room. Just a little room manners. The white things on the table are your cameras, speakers, and microphones. So there's people online. So if you do ask a question, make sure it's, loud and pronounced. And I think that's all I have.
So I want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Glenda Prentice. I'm the GIS coordinator. Richard Cruther, he's the senior GIS analyst. And we wanted to take this opportunity to sort of share some of the services we could provide to your municipalities that you may not be aware that we do, and also to just connect with some of you so that you see some of the past projects that we've done. So first of all, what is GIS? So it's a spatial system that creates, analyzes, and maps all kinds of data. So the map information is stored in separate layers depending on the similar types like streets, buildings, vegetation in this case. So when you layer information, then you can see patterns. So here you could start with information on just streets and water features. With that, you could overlay floodplains if you have that digital layer. You could overlay parcels that are open space. And you could overlay any number of spatial items if you have that data or create it. So then when it's overlaid, you can see patterns about what is where in relation to each other. But GIS is more than just pictures. It's also an information system. So all the features you see in a map have supporting database behind them with information. So if you have an interactive map and you click on a feature, it will pull up that database of information that you have put in the, whatever information you have about that, and have chosen to put in the database behind it. So it's really a robust tool. So for municipal assistance, so how can we bring GIS to you? Well, our basic thing that we do is create maps, which are really important for public engagement or just for seeing things in a more quick and easy way. We can help with collection of data, whether it's tabular or spatial. We can help with some project guidance if you're going to take on a GIS project. Maybe you're going to be working with a consultant or somebody in-house. We can provide some guidance on what tools might be useful for you to do that. And we also are interested in moving forward with more regional GIS services where if there's something one or two or more towns are interested in doing, then we can join together and come up with a format of how they want to approach that problem. And maybe whether we hire a consultant, do it in-house, arrange some interns that you or we support, however we can make it work. So I'm just going to start with some basic simple maps that we have prepared for towns. This would just be a street grid so that you can quickly find in town where a street is located. Different departments might want to take advantage of that. We'll stop in a minute, see if you can send them. Then in the land use planning office, we have a lot of data that they could, that could be used. So we created an existing land use layer where we went with the parcels and we parcel by parcel and got exactly what the land use was, so that if you know your existing conditions, that's your sort of input for your planning process. We also do zoning maps. We actually do the official zoning map for several towns. Other towns we have the zoning information, but we use it for our own purposes. And if you wanted a zoning map, but if you choose to have an official zoning map, which the zoning board has approved, We highly recommend that if you don't have one already, that's up to date, you could bring your current one up to date. And we also will do maps where we would show proposed changes. The map on the right there, the green areas are areas that they're proposing to do a zone change, so that now they can take that map in front of the board to so they can see what they're proposing. Also with the land use planning, for your plans of conservation and development, we will do the mapping portion of that, whether you're hiring a consultant for the plan itself or doing it in-house. We can provide the maps where they're often somewhere between 5 and 20 maps, depending on how you want to lay out your plan. Public Works Department. So a lot of the infrastructure in Public Works has to be mapped in order so you can monitor it, maintain it. So we've worked with like Middlebury, where we mapped all the parcels where they are currently connected to the sewer system. Parcels that could be hooked into the sewer system if they chose to, and parcels that they would prefer to avoid having sewer. So that, and that's, I keep that updated with the Public Works Department. They'll call me and say, add these, change that. Also mapping the outfalls, that's part of the MS4 compliance. We assisted back a number of years ago with getting just the outfalls and some information, but there's obviously more infrastructure that has to be mapped still. That this is an example where they've given the street segments and where the status they're at as far as paving and the different treatments they do to the road, so they can visually see what's coming up to need to be paved or sealed, or the different things they do to municipal roads. Environmental planning, by overlaying here, we have the aquifer protection area that we have digitally, and the parcels that are commercial or industrial, so that they can see which parcels are within that area, so then they know to monitor those areas because they are in a sensitive area. Parcels and the flood zone, so now you can identify by overlaying those two spatial data sets, you can see exactly which parcels are within the flood zone. Now for open space planning, we often help the towns, especially with grant applications. If they have some parcels that they're proposing to purchase, we can map them with some existing committed open space so that they can see where it fits in, and it helps to support their grant application, because you can then see the connectivity, potentially for greenways. For particular parcels, it will do a series of maps that are details about that particular parcel, just to enhance the grant, desirability of it as a potential grant applicant. Here, we just have this soil types, if that's important for the purpose of the acquisition. We also do a lot of trail planning. The Naugatuck River Greenway is our big project, and it goes through multiple towns in the region. But we'll work with the towns like Thomaston to help map and plan the route and the features, parking, what's nearby, as that trail is being planned. And on the right, we have a map there that's showing a local trail and a state trail, and sort of how they're proposing to connect the two. So, these are often for public information, for town meetings, so that people can visualize what their goal is. Parks and Rec Department, we've prepared the map on the left. We actually had NVCOG staff go out and walk those trails and GPS them. And then we put them on this map showing the other features in the park. so that the Park and Rec can hand that out to town residents.
It's actually posted at the trailhead, so people, it's the trail map for the town.
And on the right, that map we actually digitized from a paper topographic map. So we made the trails digital so that they can then be put on any other map or on an online viewer. Register of voters, we helped Ansonia by mapping the blocks with the population in each one. They were able to use that map to redistrict, because you have to keep, I guess, relatively the same population in each ward, so they could sort of see, well, if we move it over this way, we'll get that's many people this way, you know, so that was helpful to them. The map on the right, we created for Shelton, just more for information purposes, so people could go to the website or wherever this is posted and look and see their street and what ward they're actually in, and also where they're supposed to vote, you know, depending on that ward. Emergency response planning for Derby, we mapped each of their response districts and where their fire stations are and where their fire hydrants, so that in an emergency they can be more, you know, just more informed to act. In the assessor's office, this could be support for revaluation, because if you were to symbolize all the parcels based on their assessed value, you maybe see some anomalies like there, where why are these ones assessed so much lower when they're in that high value neighborhood. So it helps sort of quality control. Also with the assessor's office, because you have that CAM information, which is there's a lot of information in there, you can map themed, you know, based on one of the attributes in that data table, like such as in this case here, it's housing use unit type. So you can see where are their single family, where are their multi, where are their mobile homes. So any attribute really that's in the CAMA database, you could symbolize to see some patterns, like age of housing. You know, to see where are the older houses in town that are newer. As I said before, we collect a lot of mostly census data, some other state data, DECD data, you know, on jobs and housing. But we have that information available for housing profiles, for grant applications, and for your plan of conservation and development. We provided either as data tables or mapped, like in these 3 examples. This is just 3 examples of 3 different ways of determining environmental justice areas based on different census data, you know, whatever they've decided are important for that EJ classification. So data collection, there's 3 mobile applications that are commonly used for data collection, and they can usually be used on the phone or a tablet with service, and there is the option for disconnected collection if necessary. If you're looking for a simple sort of click one click of the button, or if you're on the move, Quick Capture is a simple app that you can just have it on your phone or your tablet and just, you know, very quickly capture a point where its spatial location is. If you want a little more information, there's a form-based field data collection. It's called Survey 123. And as you can see, maybe it's pretty small, but that is a form for tree inventory. So it could be for collecting signs or catch basins, anything like that. And if you're more comfortable with a map-based application, some people, you know, they're maybe safer with the form-based, but with the map-based one, you can, you know, get very detailed, and that's called field maps. And they're all apps that, like I said, you can put on your phone, and we are familiar with them and setting them up. We could assist with that. spatial analysis, we like to do more of this, if anyone has any suggestions of things that they wanna identify, but these are just a couple of examples. Here, those red areas are areas that are in zoning M1 or M2, which is industrial, and they're not within 250 feet of a residentially zoned land or a place of worship. And that's where they're trying to see where they could put potential adult entertainment locations. So that's sort of narrowing it, narrowing it down spatially. And the map on the left is just a town center of Oxford. They want to kind of know what was within 1,250 feet of the area, just for sure their planning process and what's allowed and what impacts they would have in the neighborhood. The map on I know these aren't really clear, they're just really ones we had, and I want to give you an example of sort of the thing. But the one on the right is just all the parcels that are adjacent to the rail line, and with their owners, because those are potential, they're looking to see where they could maybe put a rail yard or maintenance facility. And
now we could break, so everybody in
yes,
person can go grab some
we'll take a
food.
break, we'll get some food.
And then I'll get into online demonstrations. So, people online, I guess you can go get your own food if you have. All right, sorry, people online, we are back, and I will be talking about interactive maps you can access online. So our first and major app that we use is the NVCOG Regional Viewer. It is a web app builder from Esri. It has a long list of layers that you can use and turn on. Examples include state roads, local roads, the current Justice 40, census tracts, national diversity databases, including a lot of soils, and then even imagery, including 1934. So if you wanted to see what it used to look like, UConn is still updating this layer, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more accurate eventually. But also you could zoom in and the parcels turn on. In case you don't know, in this list, if it's grayed out, that means it's not visible at that extent. So either zoom out or zoom in, and it will turn on or off. And we have all the parcels for all 19 towns. So if you need to compare across the border, you can. And with the parcel information, we have basic information because there's a lot of features loading, so we try not to have that much metadata with it. But we have been able to link to your property cards or vision or whatever that you're already hosting. For more information, and also a link to your own town's parcel viewer. Next viewer, with a grant from the Connecticut Community Foundation, is a regional recreation guide. It had also web app builder and a long list of layers. But if you turn on a layer, it shows you everywhere in the region where you can do an activity, where there's a basketball court, or there's a volleyball court, where you can play tennis and most likely pickleball. And if you turn on hiking, you could also turn on our regional trails. The hiking locations are all the access points or trailheads to trail. Along the same lines, We have our own individual trail app. You can zoom in and find information about the trail. It has municipal trails, Blue Blaze trails, and any state trail. And then on the elevation profile tab, it's a specialized app that once it loads,
just want to say that the state has you were also, or you were gonna get into that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the elevation profile, you can click on the trail. And this bar at the bottom will show you the elevation change over the course of the trail. And what Glenda was saying is. The Connecticut has a statewide app called Connecticut Trails Finder. All the trails on it are if the town or the land trust or whoever manages it wants it online, they could put it on, it will be on this map. So like the town of Woodbury, they went ahead and put a lot of their trails on. With this, there's a lot of information, a lot of information with it. And we can assist you with the GIS part if you don't already have it mapped. Or if we already have it mapped on our trail app for you, we can send that to the state. And it'll get uploaded with information for you. So as you can see, there is not as many. There's more trails in the Naugatuck+Valley region that need to be moved up to the app. What else? One of the first story maps that the COG worked on is a historical resources app. It covers National Register districts, any sites, and any history museums. And it's very dynamic. So when I zoom in, this list adjusts so it only shows what is being currently in on the map extent. And when you do click on there is a specially coded pop-up that has a bunch of information on it about that district or the site.
It also has a link to all the applications, like for the original applications to the National Register. So there's all the historic documents that you can get at right with the click of a link.
The next is a dashboard. We created this to compare the 2010 to 2020 census data. You click on the town and it just shows population change. And this gives you the breakdown. There hasn't been a whole lot of detailed information from the decennial census. So right now it's just total population and race. So you use this to look at for that information. Story map, which many of you probably have seen story maps before, have gotten a little bit more dynamic. There's essentially like a navigation bar, so you could actually cheat and go down different chapters. You could have really good images and even video. And then this is a map tour that we use for the this waste crisis story map. And as you scroll, it just zooms to different locations. Um, And then all of these are available on the maps and data page on our website. It's available, it's always located in the header of any page you're on our website, including the homepage. There's a link to every town's municipal department viewer, our regional viewer. A bunch of interactive maps that I haven't even covered, like farmers markets and agritourism. The status of the Kennington Dam story map. The tourism story map. If you need to find electric vehicle charging station, we have those maps. And then there is where you can go and get maps. We do have readily available land use, like open space, and then regional maps also with different like zoning. We have all dog parks mapped, breweries maps, which is really important. And then a map of cut your own Christmas tree farms in the region. We have a data download section, and right now it's just tables from the decennial census. And external mapping resources I will go into shortly. Yep.
Okay, I was gonna discuss some of the upcoming projects that we're gonna be working on over the next year or so. And the first one is an open space inventory. We received a grant from the US Forest Service to research and catalog priority open space parcels across the region. We already have a fair bit of information about the open space in the region, but we have some of it listed as committed and some not committed, and our goal is to research that so we have a better understanding of the protection level of each parcel. So to do this, we'll be visiting each town and working with their land records department to sort of research what type of protection may be on the parcel. This is just a little piece of the attribute table that we have for each of those pieces. And as you can see, we have it listed, that we have a Boy Scout Camp of America. Obviously, that one is not going to be committed, open space, but some of the land trust and the town owned, we would then want to know what the protection type is, whether it's a conservation easement or a deed restriction, and who the easement holder is, so that we have all that information. Because if you're really planning for open space, you have to know that it's true open space and not just perceived open space, that you can build on that and know that if you're trying to build if your idea is to have a large area of open space for habitat or a path for a trail, you don't want to plan around a piece that then gets they decide they're going to put a school on it or something. So we also received a grant from the Forest Service to do a tree canopy assessment for the region. And this is really important because, first of all, we'll have a base level of what's currently the current situation, but tree canopy is really important as far as urban heat islands, as far as the aesthetics and health and livability of an area too. So with that, we're going to be, after they do the assessment, we've hired the University of Vermont to do that. They're going to use the aerials that were taken in the spring, and they're using the NAPE leap on aerials, but they're going to use the LiDAR from the spring flight to create a 7-category land cover layer. And from that, they will extract the tree canopy information and, what happened? And they'll summarize that information by different geographies, depending on how we want to, what our purposes are, like they could do it by townwide, you know, there's 30% tree cover, or neighborhood, or census block, or whatever geography, watershed, whatever geography, so that, you know, so that you will have that information on your particular spatial geography there to use. So that we're starting right now. Another project is that we're working on a active transportation plan. We have sidewalks mapped for the region. We did that a few years back, but we'll be updating those, and we'd like to include crosswalks so that we could make a true pedestrian network. If they're all linked up, that, you know, you could do a little bit more routing type things and mileage studies, you know, how far is it to walk, but you need it all hooked up, not just a picture. So we're working on that. We're also working, we're expecting any time now the spring 2023 aerials. So we will use those to update our land use that I showed you at the beginning that we have for the region. We'll use those aerials. We use Google Street View and PAMA data, zoning in combination to make it as accurate as we can. And a very large project we're working on, and we've kind of been waiting for those aerials so that we can update the land use so that we can input it into this. It's a regional zoning based build out analysis. So to do that, you take the town area and you essentially remove those areas that aren't buildable, such as aren't buildable for residential, which would be removing the residentially zoned areas, the already developed areas, committed open space, and environmental constraints. So you have the buildable residentially zoned area, and we have software, Community Viz, that calculates the number of dwellings that can be on that acreage based on the zoning regulations. So they'll place buildings. Then with each building, we multiply it by the average household size, so you can then do a projection of future population, adding the increase in population to the existing population. So you have a planning tool there to know, you know, moving forward where things could end up with your zone, the current zone. We also just purchased we've had a drone, but we've just purchased a much better one. Our drone operator at the back of the room, Aaron Bridges. And this drone we're hoping to do more with, because the previous one we could do videos and photos, but this one is much higher resolution. So if you had a project that you wanted to get a really high quality picture of maybe before and after or something, maybe we'll do that, or whoever else we train with this. But this unit also does 3D, so we hope to maybe be able to do some modeling of actual surfaces. And it also has GPS in it, so the pictures we take could actually be draped over, you know, an aerial or other existing features, so that they're spatially, they know where they are in space for GIS. And
all right, so I'm gonna cover data updates. So with environmental justice data, I'm gonna go back to the website. And under external mapping resources, there is a new tab for environmental justice data and tools. It has every federal and state source for EJ data. And I have a little note of when it could be applied. It's just a suggestion, so it doesn't come back at me. So these are the links to the viewers. You could also get access through the viewers or the website to get GIS data to pull into your own GIS. Or if you need a map made and you don't have your own GIS, I have access to all the data, so I can make the map for you. Also on this page is the new state geodata portal. It has access to broadband data and it pulls data from DOT, DEEP, and CT Eco, or you can just go to them directly. Yukon Magic, there will be updating their map library shortly. And if you need census data or demographic data in table format, there's the links to CT Data Collab and CT Data Portal. And then we also have external interactive web maps that we thought were handy. Where to get GIS software, training, and then just some cool GIS focused websites that are kind of cool. The ship map, you can see where boats are actually floating and moving, and it's really cool.
Sharp tracker.
Kind of just like that, yeah. So as Glenda said, we're waiting on spring 2023 aerials at a 3-inch resolution that the state will be supplying. It will be available either through the state geo portal or through CT Eco. We'll also be getting contours and digital elevation models to help with creating ortho imagery. And then also to help with creating land use, we'll be getting building footprints, and because there's LiDAR, we'll be getting 3D buildings. So if your mind is thinking, yes, we have the possibility of creating city landscape in a 3D model. So if you decide you want to do that, we can work with you on doing that. The NAPE imagery, which is being used for the tree canopy, that will be available from NOAA and USDA. Not NOAA, just USDA, because NOAA is also coming out with imagery. I'm not sure when, but that's why I didn't put it up there. And then move this out of the way. Parcels and CAMA data on this in terms of the state. They're trying to get standardization for the state shape files that they collect every year. They're also trying to standardize the CAMA data that they get every year. They're going to create a statewide parcel viewer, which should be coming out this winter, with what they got in May. And they should be also creating a geocoder, which will be available to everybody. So if you have a list of addresses, you can use that geocoder, and it's they're sourcing it from the parcels and CT 911 roads. They're still perfecting that. And then also for your information, Connecticut GIS Day is on November 15th. It's being hosted at Yukon Waterbury. It's free to attend. If you want to hear what's going on in the world of GIS around the state and more detailed information from the State Geographic Information Officer, he'll be there giving details, and we'll also get details from Magic Library also. And I will be doing a presentation. I did an analysis of all those EJ data sets, what the indicators were, and what the geographies look like. So I'll be presenting that. There's your code to register. This will be sent out later. Then also, so the regional viewer, I said, was web app builder from Esri, which is going to be retired in 2 years. So we would like to move to a new platform now. And while we're developing it, We would like to get feedback on what could go into it or not go into it, you know, if you use it, do you like it? Or not? So this is a survey using survey 123. And we'll enjoy getting your feedback on that. And that's all we have.
So I've thrown a lot of examples of things that have been done, not as many about what could be done, because that's up to whatever your needs are. But I would hope that anything that you saw here or would like help with, that you will contact us, because we can either do the work ourselves, do part of the work ourselves, or guide you in planning of how you could tackle it. And there are resources out there, especially with things like some of those collector apps. They've done projects. I was just at a conference and they had projects that where they hired students through Work Alliance, I think. There may be other programs. I mean, they paid them, but the funding was from, you know, grants or other sources, where high school kids would go out and do the street conditions or the sidewalk conditions. And, you know, set with one of these simple apps set up, they just have to put in, you know, fill in the sort of the survey form. So a lot of work can get done by, you know, summer students, with just a little bit of guidance, which we're available to like I said, assist with setting those up, and potentially, you know, like a regional project even, where we would maybe hire some interns and maybe get grant money, or maybe find some place under our budget where we could cover certain things, or, you know, require the municipality to give some input, financial input, or employee time. So does anybody have any questions?
So the maps, the GIS that you're showing, that's available online?
They're not all available online, because a lot of them were just focused, you know, when they were created, they were just delivered to the town. But any of them we have as PDFs that are digital. So in theory, they could be online, but I mean, most people,
Okay.
you know.
And if you have a request and you want them online under your printable page, we can do that for you.
Okay.
We just put up what we have and what we thought was helpful, but if you have maps that you want to have access to, let us know, we can put up the PDF.
Yeah, or
maps.
email them to you, you know, and then you'll have them in your own, because they're in PDF format.
You mentioned the maps you work on are geospatial. Are you working in NAT 83 coordinates?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much every, or GS 84, though that's more for the web, when you can put them on
Yep.
the website.
Do you have different layers of those, like, for each town, like telephone pole location, fire hydrant location?
No, I have it if the town, in the, like the case of the fire hydrants, that the town had those in the digital format and gave them to me, but that's a project there to go and select the location, or sometimes they may have them in a CAD drawing that they could be digitized, you know, directly scanned in and done on screen rather than in the field. Or converted, if it's CAD, it could potentially be converted right into GIS, and then it will spatially know where it is, and so it will sit on the road where it's supposed to sit. So
But utility information is hard to get, because they don't like to give it up.
When
So
they,
telephone poles.
when they do give it up, it isn't always in the right spot.
yeah,
We have, well, we did bring in an Eversource layer, and some of the poles are spot on and others are 50 feet off. And
Yeah, we had that, the same thing with the natural gas pipeline that goes through the region. It's here in the aerial, but the line is over in the next town, so.
yeah,
so those,
Is this briefing gonna be posted online that we can show others?
yes, so I'll save it probably as a PDF. That'd be the easiest, and then
Great.
And the whole recording will be available on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yes, Drew.
I know we're talking about doing pedestrian crossings and crosswalks, and are we gonna do a layer of ADA accessibility as a part of that as well?
The current layer we have, it has the sidewalks, but it also has the endpoints.
Mhm.
And whether or not they're, I forget the 4 categories, but.
The ramp or.
Ramp or, we have 4 classes, but I think. To be 100% ADA compliant, we probably have to revisit, is that ramp actually? You know,
And same question regarding the rec trails, is that information available, like, hey, this is something you could do with a wheelchair, or, you know, things like that?
It was intended to be, but the data wasn't collected, so if a certain town or land trust wants that information added, then it could be added in.
I think the state with their, so the trails that we collected were just. From here, there, we pieced them all together and we have the information that we have. But the state, Connecticut State Trails viewer, that they are encouraging towns to get their parcels. I mean, their trails, they want only ones that are managed. They don't want just ones that exist. They want ones that are managed by somebody. And ideally, those I think have to have. Aaron, you would know better than me. They have to have information about if they're ADA accessible.
So,
and
yeah, the trail manager wants that information on the website. They would have to put it up there. We do have staff that can come out and, look at your trails and assess what should and should not be up there. And we also can help you create, all of that information, that, the narrative in the on Trail Finder. So, if there's something you want to get up there for your town, or if you know a land trust that's really interested, you can reach out to me, and we can work with the GIS department to make sure we have both parts of that. Because you need the GIS data, and you need all that narrative information as well.
One final somewhat related question on the street view, I noticed like with the historic site, I thought that's awesome. Is there any historic photos to show kind of over time, hey, this parcel used to look like this is the current property card? Is there any historical data that you can click on and say, hey, in 1950, this is that same parcel? Is what it looks like today.
No, because that data wasn't available at that
Yeah,
time.
photographs are not uploaded to that's their website, it's probably from the 50s, right? Okay.
Right.
All right.
unless in the application, and there may be some historical and then ones that were at the time of the application for the National Register of Historic Places, then there might, those would be more current, maybe not as current as today, but current as of the application time. You'd have to kind of look at the ones that are out there.
Thank you, very helpful. Good to see all the things that you guys can do. It's good. We're gonna push your work now.
Anybody online have any questions? You could feel free to unmute. No, okay.
Well, and reach out for me, even if you just have a question that you didn't understand something, or
The street maps you have for each individual town, do they include private communities like condominiums?
the ones that I created do, because I was provided that information. I don't currently have one for every town, because I'm gonna just make them for the sake of making them. I had a request to do that, to bring it out with the grid.
Where would you get that data from? The town itself, or?
Well,
Well, we
CT
have-
911, which is the road that you use for emergency services, have private developments in them, and that's I
Yeah.
believe what you use as. for the
Yeah,
road
that's what
network.
I used, and then, the town would obviously give it a once over and say, you're
That's the way it is,
missing,
yeah, okay.
something's not right, but, the CT 911 roads are pretty good, the ones emergency services, yes. Whatever.
Yeah.
Emergency services uses,
A question, could you are you able to do broader, a little broader, so the towns where we're focused on individual developmental proposals, and we focus on a specific site. Would you be available to do like a little broader scale GIS overview of not only the parcel, but the surrounding land use?
we can go in as close as you want or as far as you want. It's just, the level of detail you want, obviously, the broader you get, it's harder to put parcels you know,
Right.
so, yeah, whatever scale, suits your. As you see, like mapping the Naugatuck River Greenway, you know, that's half of Connecticut,
Right,
you know, and so we'll, obviously not put as much detail, but.
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.